Let's get into another important discussion. The Portfolio Committee on Police is calling for the suspension of the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority Council's Director and Chief Financial Officer. This is over what the committee says are material irregularities in the multi-million rand Unemployment Insurance Fund training program. Last night, I spoke to the Portfolio Committee Chairperson, Ian Cameron, and let's first take a listen to what he had to say before we get reaction from the CEO of Psira, Manabela Chauke.
When we look back at it and look at the findings by the Auditor General, it indicated that it seems that a large amount of the so-called trainees weren't actually trained. A lot of the services that were paid for in advance payments weren't actually delivered. A lot of the hardware that these so-called students were meant to receive wasn't received, and a very, very low amount of the total 7,000 actually received training. In fact, there are doubts whether even up to about 1,000 of them actually received the training. And it seems that it's between 130 and 144 million rand that is part of this whole irregular scheme.
Well, joining us now to reflect on exactly what has just been said by the Portfolio Committee on Police in Parliament is the CEO of Psira, Manabela Chauke. Mr. Chauke, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's start with those remarks. Do you want to respond directly to Ian Cameron and what he is recommending, and that is that there be a suspension of the director and the CFO?
Good evening, Goli, and thank you for having me. First of all, I think the whole discussion is about accountability. I think that's what we have to emphasize. As the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority, we're very much committed to oversight, accountability. The reason we're here and the reason why we went to Parliament is because we wanted to explain ourselves. And that's what we did.
So you went to explain yourselves. So talk to us about where the money has gone, whether any cent has been recovered, and what should happen to the people that are being pointed to as wrongdoers.
Accountability means that we have to be very transparent to you, talk to you about what happened and what did not happen. We have gone to the committee to say, yes, we accept that there were shortfalls in terms of the management of the training. There were things that did not go very well. There were control breakdowns. That's accountability. That's the first accountability that the leadership takes. And we took that, right? And whether there was training or there was no training that took place, it's a question that we're here to answer. There was training that took place. That's what we're saying. Certain people were trained. The number that was targeted was 7,071 trainees. To date, according to our records, that number has been trained. What is the dispute at the moment is how many of those that have been trained has been accredited by MIC-SETA, right? That's the first thing that we're looking at. We have submitted POEs to MIC-SETA through our project management team that we appointed following us finding out that things did not go very well. So when you find out that things don't go very well, you correct, you take accountability, and that's what we did. And something that I need to correct about the whole process is, when did we start correcting this? As soon as we found out that things were going wrong, we started correcting. And who did we work with? We worked with the Auditor General of South Africa. We did what we call an MI, Material Irregularity Action Plan, which is a corrective action plan. So that's the first point of accountability that we did, which has been monitored throughout all our governance processes.
But do you take to heart what the committee is saying, and that is that there are certain individuals that must take accountability? Do you agree with that recommendation?
That's exactly what we're saying. We're saying accountability means that there must be consequence management where there's wrongdoing. But what we're saying is important, that due process of the law must take place, which means that investigations must precede punishment, right? Legal processes must be tested and facts must be tested against standards. That's what we're saying. And this is the process where we are right now. If you look at what we explained yesterday with the Auditor General, it's exactly that what we're explaining, that this is where we are, this is what we have done, these are the steps we've taken to correct the mishaps that have happened.
All right. We are talking about monies that come from the Unemployment Insurance Fund. And this is money that's being channeled toward training young people to skill them. How much money is assumed to have gone to waste?
Well, I will tell you about the records that we have. The project that we're talking about is about 129 million, right? What is in dispute at the moment is in the region of, I think, for the specific service provider that we're talking about, is in the region of 80 million. Out of the 80 million,
8 million or 80?
80 million. We're counting training that took place, the actual dispute that we're still outstanding at the moment. When we talked about recovery processes that we've initiated, we're talking about those processes where there was supposed to be hardware purchased by the service provider, which was not done. The service provider still have to answer, right? And that's another process of the law. That's why we're saying it's important that we follow due process of the law. Neither us nor the Auditor General can jump and say, but where is that money? Because there's a legal process in South Africa. That's what we're saying. And we've openly said, this is what has been done. These are the steps. Where there's allegations of mismanagement, we appointed forensic company to investigate. We are the ones, by the way, who rooted out all these issues and brought them to the fore.
Are you at liberty to tell us who the service provider is that clearly wanted to take shortcuts? Because why did they not buy the hardware that the students were supposed to use?
Well, I cannot name the service provider because they still have to answer. We have to respect processes of the law. I'm sure that there are other publications that are naming names, but as we understand how it works in this country, when you initiate legal processes, you wait for that process to unfold, and then you then talk about it.
Finally, these students, you know the country is dealing with a huge unemployment problem. When it comes to young people, that is what keeps the president awake at night, he says. So when young people are involved, that should be a sore point. What were these young people being prepared for? Are you just able to tell us quickly what this program was about?
First of all, we take the plight of young people and unemployment very seriously. We gave our opportunity as an organization to implement on behalf of UIF and what we call an end-user computing training and election training at the time. And we put up our best. There were people that were trained. I saw some of the training taking place. I saw some of them being deployed during the elections, that took place at the time. So the training did take place, and we take that part very seriously. I know for a fact that out of the training, there were those that were absorbed by certain companies. We're still trying to verify those numbers that were absorbed.
Let me thank you very much for your time. Manabela Chauke, the CEO of the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority.